Barbados continues to provide a high level of services to locals and visitors despite the economic challenges confronting the island. These challenges, according to Prime Minister Frendel Stewart, are a test which he's confident Barbados can overcome. The Prime Minister was addressing the latest in the series of cocktail receptions for frequent visitors to the island, some of whom have recorded as many as 80 trips here. The visitors were entertained by students from the George Lamming Primary, accompanied by the mighty Gabby.
Because this country has learned not to mistake a moment in time for eternity. A moment in time is just that. This too will pass. And we do not see what we are going through as a problem. We see it as a test of the national character. And when this nation's character is tested, we make sure that we pass that test.
A veteran local businessman supports government's decision to go with Sandals Beaches as an eventual replacement for the Amand Resort in St. Peter. Ralph Busy Williams says while Amand has been doing relatively well since it reopened, beaches will have a more significant impact on Barbados' tourism industry.
I don't think there's any comparison whatsoever. The Beaches Resort is a proven, tested entity. It is a family resort. Sandals hosts more weddings than any other group or hotel chain across the Caribbean. They are champions at weddings. When people get married there, they invariably come back with their children. So they created the Beaches brand. And the Beaches brand fills more airline seats than any other brand.
Mr. Williams says the training component of Sandals alone is well known in the hotel industry, adding that the long-term benefits go with Sandals Beaches will make economic sense for Barbados.
The muscle of this outfit to train staff nobody else has that kind of muscle in the hotel industry, and certainly not Amand. And while I have Mr. Bernie Weatherhead is my friend, I respect him a great deal. He's done a lot of good for Barbados, but he cannot compare a refurbished Amand with a proven Beaches Resort. It's just not comparable.
As Barbados moves to restructure its sugar industry, there is a view that the Port Vale factory in St. James should not be closed. The suggestion from Chairman of the Barbados Sugar Industries Limited, Patrick Bethel, as he and fellow board members toured the St. James factory this morning. He says although sugar is no longer king, its importance to the island should never be underestimated. Mr. Bethel believes Port Vale should be maintained, and he expressed concern about being left out of the recent deal on the new multi-million-dollar multi-purpose sugar factory to replace Andrews in St. Joseph.
All I don't know about the new factory is what I've read in the press and what I've been able to glean from bits and bobs of places. I find it's very unfortunate that the people who supply 60% of the canes to the factory have had no say in the actual design or input or just cooperation in the factory. But there may be reasons for that. We are working with what we have, and we are very pleased with what we see.
Mr. Bethel is worried about the impact factors such as illegal dumping, bushfires, and more recently, marijuana cultivation will have on the sugar industry. He says the situation needs urgent attention before it gets out of hand.
In other Caribbean countries where marijuana is cultivated up in the hills, the cultivators, I wouldn't call them farmers, the cultivators take extraordinary measures to protect their assets. And it is not unknown that you'll have a little track leading to an area, and there's a pit dug on that track and covered over. That if you by chance walk up in there or go to pursue them, you will have a challenge because you're going to drop in a pit. Then there's a question of protection of turf. And if we don't deal with this early, there are parts of Barbados that none of us in the room will be able to go because those people will protect their property.
Education Minister Ronald Jones says his ministry is working on a special package to assist medical and law students at the University of the West Indies, KPhil, with their tuition fees. His comments come as UWI students are set to pay what amounts to a fifth of the cost of their degree from September. Noting that these are the more expensive courses of study at the campus, the minister says something must be done to help those who cannot foot the bill.
It's nearly $400,000 to send one student doing law through the University of the West Indies Faculty of Medicine here in Barbados for 5 years. It's a tremendous contribution by the taxpayers of Barbados. But we're not saying to you that you're going to go and pay $80,000 of that. I'm not saying to you, that's not my proposal at all. We will ameliorate, we will cushion, we will carry as much of that as we can, but you also still have to make a contribution.
The Education Minister was speaking at the Allen School Speech Day yesterday, where he also proposed the introduction of a social amenities levy to prop up the education and health sectors. Well, Principal of the University of the West Indies, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, is convinced that women, the poor and young Barbadians will be the ones hurt the most by government's policy of imposing tuition fees. Speaking at the 11th Annual Student Awards ceremony last evening, he said it cannot be sustainable that a society would treat access to higher education in this way. Sir Hilary says while there's nothing wrong with the principle of students contributing to their education, the implementation of that principle is what poses the danger. He expressed concern about the welfare of current and potential students.
Mostly women, mostly poor, mostly young. A strategy then that closes the door upon a significant sector of the population from entering into their university must be read, therefore, as a narrowing of opportunities for women, a narrowing of opportunities for the poor, and a narrowing of opportunities for the young.
Sir Hilary is now calling for a national dialogue on the matter, saying that he believes this will be a defining moment for Barbados.
This moment in which this nation is called upon to discuss its future is a moment that all citizens should participate in that conversation. This is, in my judgment, the single most important development in the making of our nation.
Local and regional officials are meeting in Barbados, trying to come up with a new plan of action to tackle domestic violence and gender abuse in the Caribbean. They're starting with the creation of the CARICOM Prevalence Survey model based on global best practices to help determine the true prevalence of gender-based violence across the region. Dr. Hilary Brown, Program Manager with the CARICOM Secretariat, spoke about developments in this regard during the opening of the Data for Action Expert Group meeting hosted at the Radisson Aquatica Resort. Dr. Brown revealed that the Caribbean is ranked at 3 out of the top 10 for recorded rates of rape, and she says there are still problems with underreporting. She's hoping that the initiative will help to address problems with data collection.
We know that we do not have a complete picture of the situation, especially regarding both the frequency and severity of domestic violence, including sexual violence. Despite efforts by various authorities and service providers, hard evidence is lacking on the prevalence rates in our region. We understand this to be mainly due to underreporting by victims to the police, the social services, and health authorities because of a whole host of reasons, including fear, shame, and other barriers, and a lack of support and services in many areas for victims to seek assistance.
Over 7,000 children were abused in Barbados in 2012. That statistic from a green paper prepared by UNICEF's children's champion Faith Marshall Harris. She says people are turning a blind eye to child abuse, and she wants the silence to be broken.
That a number of our populations do not recognize child abuse when they see it. And this is one of the things that we're aiming to bring to persons' attention. The child abuse is literally what you see when you, I'm sure many of you have been in Bridgetown or somewhere and seeing a fairly harassed mother. She's busy, she's got a lot of children, and she's literally dragging a 3-year-old through the street, and he's screaming and she's shouting, sometimes abuse. And that is abuse, I'm afraid, child abuse.
Well, Child Abuse, Neglect and Prevention Month officially started on April the 1st. And to create awareness, a blue ribbon and blue teddy bear pins will be distributed to the public. Lieutenant General of Kiwanis International, Delores Lewis, gives the calendar of events.
The awareness campaign will begin on Saturday, April 5th, which is designated as Kiwanis International One Day, and it will begin at 10 a.m. at Heroes Square. The next event for the month will be a motorcade from Bridgetown to Whole Town in Speightstown, where we'll try to bring the message to the north of the island. And we will be joining the Kiwanis Club of Bridgetown Silver Dollar campaign, motorcade, and doing the same sort of thing, giving out literature and ribbons and pins to raise awareness for the and support for the program.
Yet another Barbadian woman has joined that special list of people reaching the celebrated milestone of 100 years, the fourth in 4 days. Yesterday, Olivia Licorice joined that special club. And this banner said it all. Baby Ford, or Ma, as she's more affectionately called in the close-knit community of Melvin Hill in St. Joseph, was in high spirits as she was presented with gift cards. She also shared in a toast with Governor General Sir Elliot Belgrave and several generations of family members. Parliamentary representative for St. Joseph, Dale Marshall, was also on hand. Her son, 60-year-old Rudolph Licorice, tells CBC his mother was a disciplinarian.
When I was growing up, she said to me, at that time you didn't really get much money, and she would tell me I have to give her half of the money. I know my friends, I see my friends with money in the pocket, they want to go on weekends. I said she was harsh. But now as I grew up to manhood, I recognized she was installing some principles in me. And she said to me, I want you to know, boy, I'm doing this to you, that when you grow up, that you will, and you have your own, you will know how to give money in the house, right? And that stuck with me.
Well, officials say a more elaborate celebration for Olivia's achievement is expected to be held next Saturday at the Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union on Belmont Road. Well, Loreen Tate also reached the coveted milestone, and she was all smiles about it as well. The Centenarian shared in a light exchange at her residence in Cheshire in St. John with Governor General Sir Elliot Belgrave, who paid her a courtesy call. Loreen, who was also quite vocal, shared about her years of hard work at Villanova, where she was a servant. She also spoke about her love for cooking. Her adopted daughter, 49-year-old Kathleen Pinder, said her mother was a community-minded person who was a mother to all of the children in the district.
She love people. She take care of the ones that did not have a family. She take care of the ones that do not have their wives anymore, because she would have me going all up to geriatric to take things for the old people. She is a people's person, and she loves people, so that's why she's so blessed by God. He's returning all his blessings on her. That's why she reached this 100th birthday.
The recent reversion of some public officers to their substantive posts had nothing to do with the Barbados Revenue Authority, but rather promotions in the service. This is according to Chief Personnel Officer Gail Atkins. In a statement released this evening, she says what they are dealing with is secondments, and that process should be complete by tomorrow or Monday, April the 7th. Afterwards, she says, they will work towards reassigning appointed officers who do not want to go with the authority to vacant posts in the civil service. That process is expected to be wrapped up by the end of next week.